Hi there, welcome back to Bioenergetics, and today I'm going to just look at a question sent in by a chap called Lawrence Davies to my YouTube channel. I think it's a guy I've worked with, but I'm not completely sure. Anyway, he says, "Thanks Dev, can you explain why after a session of bio would I sometimes feel more tense or fearful for a day or so?" And I thought, this is a great question, and maybe one that anyone who's been using, working with body-based therapy has experienced. We can feel good for a bit, and then it's like we go down into a pit. It's kind of what is often referred to as a roller coaster effect. This sense of being on a roller coaster. Yeah, we're going up high and feeling really great about ourselves, and we can really get stuff together, and it's all wonderful, and we go along like that for a bit, and then it's down into a kind of the pit again, and it's like, oh my God, I can't get anything together. My energy's really slack, and I just don't feel worth it, and I just can't. It's just not worth hardly getting out of bed today. Or I'm feeling really in emotions I don't want to feel, very vulnerable or very pissed off and moody, And so it's a totally reasonable question to ask. Why does this happen? And the first thing to look at and to understand is that pretty much every human being on the planet is repressing a ton of emotions and repressing them into as holding patterns in the muscles or as dead areas of the muscles where they're just not feeling. And this is endemic. It's not just in the West either. I'm pretty sure if you went to some so-called really primitive culture, I don't know, in the middle of somewhere nowheresville in Africa or Papua New Guinea, you'd find the same stuff going on. And the first thing that this is happening, it's the higher mind only really developed in terms of being a real cultural phenomenon in the last 3,000 or 4,000 years, in terms of really exerting its control over the psyche. And yet the body has been evolving for like 1 billion years, it's a product of 1 billion years of evolution. And we have a lot of energy and feeling. But what's happened in particularly the last 500 years, we've learned to damp down on it, prefrontal cortical control, and to keep the feelings under control so that we seem to be a cool kind of person or someone to get our needs met. It's a lot of social conditioning. It's just where our planet and our culture are at the time being. But it creates a lot of ill health and a lot of repression in the body. And so, everyone is sitting on a ton of feelings. And so I often have people come to me and say, well, I've cleared out all my anger. I don't have any repressed pain. I've dealt with all my childhood stuff. I don't need to get angry. I don't need to feel sad. One of the two or both. And there's two things to understand if you're coming from that kind of belief system. The first is that things like anger or pain are anyway inbuilt normal responses mediated in the midbrain, in the limbic system. And, anytime there's a sense you perceive a threat to your borders, your boundaries, anytime a sense of invasion is perceived in any way, even to your friends, to your belief systems, anger will be triggered from that level, from the amygdala. It'll be triggered as a defensive response to maintain your boundaries. You cannot clear out anger. If you had some severe level of midbrain damage, possibly you won't feel anger at all, but that's like really, really rare. So you're going to have anger. It's a natural human response that's built into the system. You may have learned to distrust or disown it. You may not like it. You may believe that if you're angry, you won't get your needs met and that it's not okay to be angry. But these are psychological belief systems. They have nothing to do with how the brain is actually functioning, in the sense that it's still being triggered all the time. Anytime there's a sense of invasion. The same with woundedness. We're feeling vulnerable. We're feeling upset. We're feeling hurt, wanting to cry. You can't clear all this stuff out. They're natural human responses to certain forms, sad stuff that happens, expectations not being met, these kind of things. So that's the first thing to grasp, is that there's, these responses are built in anyway. And the second thing to grasp is the level of repression that the average human being has gone through. It's phenomenally high in our culture in particular. It's phenomenally high. The average person is simply, their whole body is the back line of the body is rammed with feelings. Everyone's got it. We're all in the same boat. So you don't need to feel like, okay, I'm the only one that's got it and I must be really shit or something, No, it's endemic. It's absolutely endemic in our culture. And even, you go up the top levels of the culture, you will still find it even worse. People driving around in their Mercedes 500 with tinted glass, trying to be an executive. Lots of these guys are not having much of a life. Anyway, on an emotional level, in terms of just living, you know, being alive, feeling alive. So we're all in the same boat, you know. And what's happening when you start to do bioenergetics, you start to work with therapy, with body-based therapy, stuff that's going into the feelings in the body. It's like unblocking, you know, it's like lifting the lid off Pandora's box, you know. It's like if you think about plumbing, you know, maybe you've got a pipe and it's blocked with loads of stuff and water can't really move through it. A little trickle comes out, just a little trickle, and you start to unblock it, it starts to come out stronger. You know, it starts to come out stronger. So if you're doing, you know, particularly emotional expression work, but also bioenergetics also will trigger it, you can start feeling quite up and down and you're on a roller coaster for a bit. And the reality is that's just how it is. And you're on this roller coaster until your energy is much clearer and you've cleared a lot of stuff out. And that can take a decade, you know, it might only take a year, but it can take a decade or longer. It could be a life's work, you know. In the meantime, your life gets better and your emotions flow more easily and you feel more comfortable to be angry, to be upset, to be held, to really put out your boundaries. You know, you feel more comfortable, you get your needs met more authentically, but nevertheless it goes on this roller coaster. And so you need to be, you know, accepting of that, maybe a little bit prepared for it. You know, you gotta accept, you know, it's not all going to be plain sailing when you start to open up this Pandora's box, but at the end there's hope and there's love. You know, at the end, you feel good. You feel good about being you, and you feel like you have a right to get what you need and to move towards what you want. So then you got to look on a practical level. Okay, I'm going on the roller coaster. I've done a big weekend of release, and now I was feeling high as a kite, and now I'm feeling right in the doldrums and not good at all. Feeling like a piece of shit this morning or whatever, you know. What do I authentically need to help me, you know? Probably not to just cane a load of alcohol or food and stuff like that. You know, just try and look what your authentic needs are. Often for friendship. Often for someone that you can simply share what's going on with, you know. A friend that you can just talk to. Or, you know, if you're a bit more isolated, someone you can get counseling from, or just someone who will listen to you without a lot of judgments. Can really make it easy. Guys in particular, young guys in particular, tend to struggle with this stuff. But it can be so brilliant to have other guys around that you can just chat to about the stuff that doesn't work. You know, there's times when you're not feeling good, when you're feeling really down, and just being listened to, just being heard is a big thing. So this is a thing on when you're on the roller coaster. Look for the support that practically you can get, because you will go up again as well. And finally, if you understand it, you know, a lot of it is about accepting all those feelings. What happens at the prefrontal cortex level, which is highly evolved in humans, is this kind of executive control over our personality, where you want to be, you know, project this kind of person out who's kind of cool and successful and can do everything or whatever it is for you. And, you know, it kind of negotiates a bit with the so-called lower aspects of a mind that feel a bit of a mess or traumatized. And it kind of, okay, but we'll go for this, you know, okay, maybe I'm not like Tom Cruise, but I'll go for somewhere, you know, a little bit of a loser, but basically together, and kind of do this kind of act, you know. There's this negotiation going on at a mental level in the prefrontal cortex, and it tries to push something out, and it is holding down a lot of stuff. And what it's holding down, you also need to accept. So maybe you've been a nice guy for a long time, man or woman. You've been, you know, you don't really want to say no, you go with the flow. You know, and it feels really difficult. You're getting angry. You know, maybe you've actually been a bit of a doormat in your work or around your kids or your relationship or, you know, your family. And you've allowed people, you know, your brother to dump his crap on you. And suddenly it's coming up with like, hey, get back from me, you know, and you're getting angry. Like a pulse of fire comes up through your system and you feel angry. And it freaks your mind out. It freaks the prefrontal cortex out. It says, whoa, what's happening here? I'm trying to do my nice guy image, and this burst of anger is not useful. Accept the anger. You have to accept it. It's rebalancing your psyche, you know, and you may, you know, make a mess. You know, you may get an angry outburst, a charge builds up, and suddenly you unload it all on some poor soul who hasn't really done that much. You know, they haven't really done anything so super wrong, but you just unload it on them, you know, and you feel bad afterwards and guilty, and you think, oh my God, I'm never going to do that again. You know, it's just a spiral thought pattern. It's not useful. Look practically what you need to do to go and apologize to a person, explain that you're doing some therapy, some groups, and sometimes you're a bit volatile now. Your personality is changing. if you're on a big roller coaster, you know, a lot of change is trying to happen in your system, and you need to accept the lows, or what you're judging as low, as well as the highs, and feel it. Another amazingly useful thing to understand, or a concept, is yes, you can have a feeling that you judge as really bad, being super angry about something, or being super sad about something, feeling really moody, but you don't have to follow the behavior that suggests. Okay, so you might be feeling really angry. You might be able to just sit with that feeling of anger. Literally just feel it. Sit, close your eyes, and just breathe and feel it. And maybe after a little while it dissipates. You know, go and involve yourself in a little bit of work that doesn't totally take over your mind, so you're still feeling your body. What I'm trying to say is, you don't have to go out and find someone to dump a load of crap on and then feel shit afterwards, you know. Even if this anger is really directed towards someone, look rationally as well. Okay, have they done something? How can I state my boundaries in a way that this person could say thank you? This is great advice. It came from a man called Repression, head of a University, now no longer with us, sadly, and a big therapeutic influence in my life. And he said, look, when you're giving feedback to someone, when you're stating boundaries, when you're saying what didn't work for you, how can you put it in a way that the person could say thank you? And you won't always get it right, but if you try from that level, you know, you're trying from the heart level, and finally, it's okay. It's okay, you know. So this is the thing, you know, you're on a roller coaster, try to accept the lows and stay with them in the feeling sense. You don't have to follow the behavior. You might be feeling really crap about yourself. Doesn't mean you have to curl up and die in your bed, or just eat loads of food, or go and drink yourself silly. It doesn't mean you need to do that. You might be able to just get on with your day, stay with the feeling. If there's someone you can share it with, great. If you don't feel confident with the friends you've got to share it, that's okay as well. You know, stay with the feeling. So these are important concepts when you're starting to get involved in a therapeutic journey, in bioenergetics and stuff like this. Understanding there is a lot of repressed stuff. You will quite likely go on a roller coaster as that repression starts to move, and all this feeling starts to come up out of the body into the mind, into your consciousness. To stay with that roller coaster, and if it's too intense, look what you need. You know, look what you need. Can you reach out to someone? You know, people do Skype sessions with me, and we just talk about stuff like this sometimes, you know, just there as a little safety thing, you know. I charge £30 an hour. But this is not, you know, promoting my work. It's just giving you some useful tips, because the roller coaster is a tough one. Understand, you've been putting out a self-image that you're trying to present, and it's starting to break down because the feelings in your body are becoming more intense, and you've got to be authentic with that. Tell people, I'm doing therapy, I'm changing. And some may not be able to accept you. You know, that's the reality. They may be comfortable with you being the angry, disconnected person in the corner, or the easy little doormat they can bully every now and again. But that's their stuff. You don't want to stay being that person, so you have to take a stand for yourself and just be honest. I'm changing. That's how it is, you know. Okay, I hope this talk is of use to Lawrence and anybody else out there. It's really a big thing, this roller coaster, and it goes on. You know, it's why, you know, even I live in community, it's a lot of support. You know, there's a lot of support there, and people on a similar journey. It's great to find people on a similar journey, because, you know, these guys can relate to what you're going through. Okay, bye. Over and out.